This was in an interview with the Austin American-Statesman, and it is the head football coach at the University of Texas, Tom Herman, who said, quote, "There's a double standard, maybe a little bit. We're going to pack 100,000 people into DKR and millions watch on TV that are predominantly white, not all of them certainly, but most of them white. We're going to cheer when they score touchdowns, and we're going to hug our buddy when they get sacks or an interception. But we're going to let them date our daughter? Are we going to hire them in a position of power in our company? That's the question I have for America. You can't have it both ways. And if you're going to cheer them and love them for 3.5 hours this Saturday in the fall, you better have the same feelings for them off the field, because they're human beings. They deserve the same amount of respect and human rights that all of us do in this country when we agreed on the social contract to be a member of the United States." We're having a little trouble connecting to Jalen, and so we'll bring Domonique Foxworth back in here to contribute to this conversation here. Nick, as you hear those comments again from Tom Herman, we talked about them a bit earlier, but he's had some time to think about it. What thoughts do you have about the significance of the football coach at Texas saying that publicly?
Yeah, I think it's significant. It matters, but I do think that maybe the population of fans is not even as far along as Tom Herman suggests, because I don't think that they necessarily view the players as people as much as they view them as objects there for their entertainment and to make them feel good about their universities. So I think they have a long way to go, but I think it's great that it gives people opportunity, or it gives them a suggestion that maybe they should do some self-reflection and explore how they really feel about these players and what they really think about these players. But I think the unfortunate thing is it's far too easy for those fans to just point at someone else and say, those are the racists. Those are the people who need to inspect themselves and assume that they have they're in a better place. And I just wanted to mention one other thing. And the question you asked before we went to the Tom Herman topic was about player power. And I do think that it may impact the way that they attack issues that face them in NCAA, because they are now seeing how strong they really are and how much power they have when they can act collectively.
Yeah, that's something we can continue to discuss. But Jay Bilas, I'd be curious to hear, what was your reaction to what Tom Herman said?
Well, I agreed wholeheartedly with the sentiment but one thing that I would not differ with, but just point out is I don't look at it using the term double standard. It's a question of systemic racism, and we've been talking about, and rightfully so, the issue of police brutality and disparate treatment in the justice system for African Americans. I mean, so I don't look at it, if a fan decides not to cheer, then that's okay, because it's not a double standard. You're not being hypocritical. Look, these players are seen by fans mostly as entertainers. They go to watch them play and largely don't care about their views. They only care about their views when their views agree with theirs. And, look, I think Tom Herman said all the right things there, but the issue is we need to take action collectively and individually against systemic racism in our society. It is not just the people you cheer for or those you don't cheer for. It is much, much bigger than that, I believe. But look, we're talking about support for athletes. Largely what these universities view as support for athletes is money. They look at their supporters as people who give money, who buy tickets, who pay all that money in order to have the right to buy tickets. And when the teams do well and the players win, they are largely supported. When the teams lose, they are not supported. But the issue is bigger than just, hey, if you cheer for them, then you've got to take this stance. It's way bigger than that.
I do think that Tom Herman was on to something, and he talked about hiring practices a bit, and that speaks to the systemic issues that you're talking about, Jay. But I also think that you brought up something that kind of sparked something in my mind, is the support that the universities offer these players so often, and this does not all players, so often they bring in players because of their athletic ability, obviously, and they take some players from situations where they have not been properly prepared to succeed at the college level. They bring them into these institutions and they find a way to keep them eligible rather than find a way to prepare them for life after. They find a way to get them in the classes they need to get so that they can stay on the field, and they take up so much of their extracurricular time with football-related activities or sports-related activities, that they can't fulfill all the other things that a university promises. They can't pursue certain majors. They can't do certain internships. They can't do the things that they'll need to prepare them going forward. And we all know such a tiny fraction of the players actually play professionally. So I think that Tom Herman, while he's projecting this on the fans, he can turn around and look at the University of Texas also. And I can't speak to the research or, the data on how well Texas prepares their athletes for going life after football or life after basketball, but I can speak to my experience and what I've learned at so many other schools, that so many of the players come in, and when they're done with their 4 or 5 years of eligibility, they're no use to the school anymore, and they haven't prepared them. Even if they found a way to graduate, they're not prepared necessarily, and so many of them don't even graduate. So I think that Tom Herman is right to say to the fans, but Jay, you brought up the systemic racial issues, and that really sparked something in me to suggest that it's not just the fans cheering or not cheering or dating daughters or hiring people. It's also the institutions appreciating that they're mining from some of these areas where players have not been properly prepared, and they do nothing to prepare them going forward other than make sure that they can perform on Sundays or, on Saturdays.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.